Let's move on to some user questions and comments. A couple that we got over Twitter, and then we've gotten a bunch of great questions in the chat today. If you have any others that you want us to sort through, if we have enough time, go ahead and put them in now. From Danny in Godmanchester, who for some reason always pops up with a question when we have ABWers on with us. Am I online right now?
Yeah.
Okay, because everything is frozen. I just wasn't sure whether I was coming through or not. If you could have any two current Arsenal players to come work for you, one as a butler and the other as a personal nurse to do all your ablutions, back, sack, and crack washing, etc., who would they be and why? And don't forget that they would have to retire from football to take the unpaid positions. I think that one's for you, John.
Wow. Okay. Personal butler. I think I'd want someone with some character. You know, you can have a good laugh with. Obviously, you've got to be able to trust them as well, that they will do everything you say. So I think Jenkinson would be good for that. Because you could have, you'd have good chats with him. And whenever you see shows in the butlers, they're, like Fresh Prince, Batman. I'm struggling to think of any other shows with butlers. But they've always had good banter back and forth. So
Andy's House.
Jenko would be good for that one. A personal maid. Who would I want to suffer that? Oh. I mean, most fans, I don't know. You could say Mustafi, but that just seems cruel. I'd give it to Ozil. I'd make him work, earn that money.
Oh, it's an unpaid position. I'm not sure that he'll take that, but thank you, Danny, for the question.
And I require all my butlers to slide tackle whoever enter and exit my home. So Mustafi's just the perfect candidate.
I know not to ring the doorbell when I come over to
you guys
see his mom now. I actually come in the basement.
Yeah.
I don't mean I come in the basement. I mean I enter the basement. I don't mean enter, but guess who lives in the basement, John? Some of the questions that are left over from Ziggy from last week, David Ziegler.
Oh, Christ. Here we go.
Is it possible that some fan somewhere has been unknowingly ignoring a match day superstition that, as it turns out, was actually working? And it's funny that he mentions this because I had a match day superstition back in our first season of the podcast, where I would take a pregame walk. It didn't matter if the game started at 7:30, 9 o'clock, whatever it is. I would take a pregame walk about 3, 4, 5 miles, whatever, and for every mile I walked, we would normally win the game with that many goals. And I stopped walking before my son's bar mitzvah was the day of the Middleborough game, where it was a 0-0, it was a drab 0-0 affair. And then we went to England for the derby a couple weeks later, and just that whole interruption of my normal routine stopped the walking, and we just started losing at that point. So I started again, finally, a week or two ago, and I got up early and went on a long walk before the Brighton game, and it didn't fucking do shit. So the answer is no, it's not possible. Does the phrase scrotum scraper make you think, and there are 5 options here: bad online review for pants, name of new roller coaster, worst death metal band ever, strange pro wrestling finishing move, or unnecessary as seen on TV product? Andy, let's go to you for that, since you and David are so simpatico.
It screams bad online review for pants.
Okay.
Right?
That's your answer. There's no right or wrong in this kind of thing.
Well, there's always a right or wrong with Ziggler.
To me.
John, do you want to have a go on this?
Yeah, that definitely screams death metal band to me. There's
well, it's like Pantera would be.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's Spanish for panther, right? I think that's Spanish.
I thought it was
the error
for scrotum scraper.
But yeah, there is a band I listen to called Dying Fetus. So scrotum scraper sounds about right.
Oh my goodness, that's aggressive.
That is death metal, like literally.
No, honestly, they're a folk band, I swear.
Isn't there K9? Have you heard of K9us?
Yeah.
The lead singer is a fucking dog. Not. I don't mean that in the insulting sense of a woman. I mean like an actual dog. I don't think any of the above for scrotum scraper. It makes me think of one of my first college girlfriends. But
oh God,
Anyway, yeah, that's going to be it for David's questions for a while. As for the questions in the chat, we've gotten a bunch of good ones today. First of all, from Dial Square One, there's again lots of anti-Kroenke sentiment over here. And previously, I've heard you Gooners in the States defend Kroenke with some well thought out arguments. What are your current thoughts? Andy, you're the Kroenke expert. You live on the outskirts of his compound.
I do. Might be going to his compound very soon, actually. Maybe, if not tonight, Michael. So,
Game 6.
Yeah,
Game 7? No, Game 6.
It's Game 6. I think the appointment of Unai Emery was a good one. You don't win 3 Europa League finals without being a good manager. I think this summer will speak volumes for the Kroenkes with how much they're going to allow him to invest, how they're going to support in that investment. I still stand fast by the fact that Josh did come over and ruffle some feathers and make changes around this time last year. And it's still early going. I don't think a manager like Unai Emery would have taken the Arsenal position if he didn't have the backing. He kept talking about how his conversations this time last year with the Kroenkes were positive. He hasn't had an opportunity to bring in his own players. I think the majority of those players were signed before he became our manager. So long story short, I think we need to give the Kroenkes a little bit more time. I'm not saying that they're blameless, but they've invested with us in the past, and I think that we just need to let them work with Emery to get those players in, the right players in. And I don't think they're going to say no. We're not going to go out and bid for Mbappe, but if they come out and they give us 60 to 100 million this summer on top of whatever we're allowing to leave the club, I think that's a fair return on ownership.
John, your thoughts, and then I'm going to chime in on anything that you don't actually steal from me.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's difficult from over here. Obviously, we don't hear as much about Kroenke, and I know his baseball team is doing well.
It's the one sport he doesn't own a team in.
Yeah, he doesn't own that. So he has his Avalanche and Nuggets are both doing really well this season.
That's it, yeah.
And then
Denver hockey and basketball.
Yeah, and then obviously his Rams. His Colorado Rapids are absolutely awful.
We might be able to beat them in July when we play them.
Yeah, they hired their manager last week, so who knows?
I mean, the encouragement I took from the interviews I've heard with Josh Kroenke, who I hope is taking more of an interest in at Arsenal, is what I saw him do at the Rams, where he came in and he brought in a young coach, kind of changed things up a little bit there, and you saw what they achieved. Getting to the Super Bowl is really impressive. The turnaround, ignoring all the moving city thing, and that's a totally different thing, and it's just kind of what happens in NFL. It's a different sport. I do think you need to give him time. You can't judge him straight away. He was never going to do anything whilst Signoff was still had a big share in the club. It's different now, so you have to see how he does his first summer. I agree with Andy. I don't think he's going to go spend fortunes because, quite frankly, at the moment, one, he's got other things to invest in, and two, not sure exactly what direction the club is going. And I think they're still trying to stick with the whole sort of self-sustaining model that Arsenal really wanted to do, and Gazidis did as well. I think there's a lot more to be said about what the board members at the club do in terms of commercially and getting revenue in that way. That's what really needs to be improved on. And I hope the Kroenkes pay attention to that side of the business and try and encourage that more. Because if you get the commercial revenue up, that's how you generate real revenue to actually spend and put out on the pitch. Yeah, and the criticisms about Kroenke are always, he doesn't put his own money into the club. That's bullshit. He can't, not to buy players. He's taking money from us and put it into the Rams. That's bullshit. He's buying real estate. He's not doubling the Rams payroll. You can't do that. Yeah.
He should just name his new stadium in LA the Arsenal Stadium, and
the Arsenal funded stadium.
The Arsenal Stadium, and for every ticket purchased, money goes back into the club, and then He could go ahead and put Walmart training facility at Colney, and then
he should have Arsenal sponsor the stadium and pay like 60 million pounds for the naming rights and call it Arsenal Stadium as a way of getting more money for the Rams.
And then I think he should put a minimum 200 shirts into each Walmart across the country, and there we go, commercial up.
Yep. And the thing for me though is this summer and we talk about it every week, the number of of pounds, dollars, euros, yen that we can add to the payroll this summer is astounding.
Well, look at what just walked out of the club yesterday at the match with Ramsey, Czech, and
well, that's
Welbeck.
Part of it. The new commercial deals are part of it. And even without Champions League football, we could spend a lot more than 100 million in transfer fees and take on some salaries that are in the the 150 to 225 range, not just one player but multiple players if we wanted to. Now, whether that's a good idea or not, blowing your whole wad, and then getting into the same salary constraint situation that we're in prior to now, and striking out on getting back into that's a big gamble to make. And if you don't make the Champions League, it will be years and years and years and years before we do. So I don't see that happening. But by the same token, if we don't spend money to replace the very needs that we have, do it smartly, which may not mean splashing mad cash on 70 million pound players. Yeah. That I can't blame on just about anybody else than Kroenke. Because there's no more Arsene Wenger holding the purse strings tight to blame anymore.
Let me ask you both this, and it can just be a quick yes or no, but come August, the transfer window is closing, and we have signed 2 center backs, and that's it. And both center backs are, in our opinion, Premier League ready to go out and do business. Are we happy with that transfer window?
I'm not, no. Because I think there's more needs to be done to the squad. I don't expect you to them to do it all in one window, but I guess, we definitely need a centre mid of some sort, and we need a forward of some sort. People have spoken about Reece Nelson coming back. He's still not playing that often for Hoffenheim.
No.
He needs another loan. Joe Willock is a player who needs to go out on loan, which means we need more midfielders because we need cover there. There's other players going to be leaving the club besides the one, the 3 that we've already spoken about. So you've got to bring in, maybe Bellerin might need some competition. We've got Kolasinac at left back. That's it. There's a lot of positions to fill in the squad.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be happy with it. I'd be pleased that they finally, stop their over-reliance. I mean, if we go into next season with Socrates, Mustafi, and Koscielny as our 3 center backs until Holding is ready to play, we can just write the season off from the start. It's just not good enough. So, yeah, I would be happy with the center back signings, but there is by no means a successful summer transfer window, nor will we have used the financial strength that we will have gained on June 1st or July 1st, whenever it is, if that's all we do. And we don't replace Ramsey and we don't replace Welbeck and do something about, if we go into the season with Ozil having to play virtually every game or having zero service to our forwards, we're in bad shape. So no, that wouldn't be a good transfer window. Next question for you, Andy, from Mike Hernandez. Why does Andy call La Liga a feeder league with most, but with some other guests, he calls it the second best league? Phil Shane. He was clearly kissing some ass.
No, I think we suggested to Phil Shane that we joke about how it's a feeder league. I only do it because one of our good friends loves it, and it just pisses him off to no end. And 90% of the time, he bites the bait.
Oh, he bites. Of course, he bites the bait. He's like me. He bites every single piece of bait that's out there. We love you, Tom Canton.
Yeah, but yeah, he bites and bites. Yeah, that's the only reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else that you?
No, no. There's only 2 teams that ever win the league, so it's just feeder league. So almost
always correct on that.
I think since 2002,
No, I think Atletico snuck in there like
Atletico
maybe
stuck in there
2014. I think it was the
Yes.
year that we won the first FA Cup. I feel like they won the title, and that was it. Two questions from Payush Kapoor. First, despite getting a lot of opportunities to get in the top four, is it now safe to say Arsenal are this season's biggest bottlers? Also, with this poor performance, I don't think we will win Europa. Biggest bottlers? No, I'd say Manchester United are the biggest bottlers, but certainly when it mattered the most, we certainly surrounded ourselves with lots of bottles. Anyone else think we're the biggest?
No. Look,
or were we good enough to bottle anything in the first place, which was a lot of.
Yeah, look. If I know you hate the way this is said, Mike, but if the beginning of the season you had said to Mike Feinberg and probably John, hey, you're going to be in the four. It's down to the last day, and you're going to be in the mix for fourth place. You're in the Europa League semifinal with a comfortable lead going into the second leg. We would have all taken that. It's the point of, I think we've bottled the last 2 months. I think this whole season has been a transition season. I think it's opened up our eyes as seeing, hey, under Arsene Wenger, these players weren't great. Under Unai, they haven't been great. I want to give him one more season to make changes. I think this summer is going to be huge. There's no way we're walking into this summer there's no way we were entering May without them knowing who they're going to go after transfer-wise. And I can guarantee you, Mike, we're not going to be pushing it like we did under the Arsene Wenger era where we go into the transfer window, deadline day, trying to sign players. This is all going to be done before our preseason tour.
Yeah, that changed last summer.
Yeah.
I'm not confident that will happen this summer, though. That's my worry.
What?
I'm not confident that will happen this summer. That's my worry.
See, I think it is, and the reason I think that is because I think Unai is just such that planner. He's going to want to have everyone coming in under the same kind of umbrella of responsibility and understanding before they get to the States. I think he's going to want to have that whole team in. He's going to want to have them rested going through his preseason. And I think we're going to see players shipping out here as soon as that. The worst thing that Europa League final is going to do for us, Mike, is it's just going to delay the inevitable of getting this all going.
Yeah. Well, if that's the worst part of that, then I'll take it. And I did pay double price for my tickets for the summer tour because of Isco coming. And if it doesn't happen, I'm going to be asking for a refund. John, bottlers, but then also. Another from Payush, do you think we should go for Mourinho? He is currently available. I personally don't like him, but at least he can fix our defense and make it tough for other teams to score against us. Do you have any answer other than mine, which is no?
I support a team that Mourinho has managed in Inter Milan, and he won the treble
and the Seattle Supersonics.
And it was amazing winning the treble. It was the worst football I've ever watched in my life. Samuel was playing left back and right back at times. It was amazing. And Diego Milito became the most prolific striker I've ever seen. But I mean, he gets results.
But that guy just disappeared after that. Yeah,
no, I wouldn't take him. There are rumours Inter might go back for him, so that'd be interesting if that happens. As for the
bottom, I hear yesterday, Celtic. I heard yesterday.
Oh, yeah, Celtic was the talk yesterday, yeah. I mean, I know people laugh because it's the Scottish League, but it's still a big prestige name club, regardless.
Well, if he's looking to just rack up extra, championship trophies, he could do the double there pretty easily next season.
No, I wouldn't take Mourinho. As for the bottlers thing, honestly, you could just, if you could get like a four-sided coin, if there's a thing, I don't know, something four-sided, and just flip it, and just Man United, Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea, because all four of us have just I came up with the idea of getting a pitch, like a perfect square pitch with 4 goals, just putting all 4 teams on, and basically whoever scores the most goals in 90 minutes, they get a spot in the top 4. Because honestly,
I've seen that done at my son's youth team practices. There's like a drill or something that involves that.
Not one of those teams, honestly, probably deserves top 4 for the way they've all been pretty much chucking it away in the last few weeks.
Grant, I'm on a massive diet right now, and for you to talk about Baconators right now is just absolutely cruel. I know that you were one of our most recent subscribers, but please keep the Baconator talk out. And now it's just going to be constant. But
Mike, we should mention, because we have some great listeners who have some great ideas. We've been kind of graced with press passes for the summer tour.
It's not something I would have brought up in this podcast.
No, but we need to start thinking of things that we can do to, if we do have the opportunity to meet staff or players with Arsenal. So we should start getting ideas of things that would allow us to be different than their usual interviews and what have you. So
and ideas on things that we should not do, because I tend to have a problem with discerning between things I should and shouldn't do.
Yeah, John, here's a glimpse behind the curtain as to me saying to Mike, hey, we should start building a press packet to send to these places. And Mike's response to that was, I started drafting up a paragraph. He just added, I want your free food and drink.
Well, that's what I titled the document on Google Docs. I was like, media passes equal free food and drink.
Yeah, but then you wrote a sentence.
Like someone who works for the Sun, so yeah. It's perfectly normal over here. I mean, if you want tips, just ask our Simon Collins, because I swear he never does match reports. Someone else is writing them. Simon is just getting all the free food, all the free booze.
Simon, who we also asked on we came to you after Simon turned us down a couple of weeks ago.
Oh well.
Actually, he just wasn't available.
Shoot for the moon, and then aim a little lower, and you get me.
The last two ideas that you've come up with, Andy, are that and the Pornhub idea. And at first, I just kind of, along with the whole idea for the podcast a few years ago, I was just like, no, that won't work. And then I just end up obsessing over them, and 2 days later, it's done.
Well, and you know what? We have gotten good responses back. So I think it's time for our listeners to start helping us kind of build the production of what we're going to do if we meet the players, because I don't want to just ask them silly or stupid questions. I think it'd be fun to get some good footage on camera of maybe them thinking like, hey, this is a little different, you know?
So you want me coming up to Isco and Xhaka and asking them what's more important than Arsenal and playing that game?
Could do that, or we could do like a Baconator challenge. Who can eat the most in 60 seconds?
100% Mustafi. All right, Lothless, James from New York. Do you agree that Son Heung-min is the nicest, friendliest, greatest human being who never loses his temper? By the way, James is from South Korea. I was trying to remember the actual name, and I don't want to mix it up, but is it the People's Republic of Korea? No, that's North Korea. Anyway, he's from Korea. I think he's kidding there, though. Did you see the picture of him crying?
Yes, I did.
Which picture of somebody crying did you prefer? The Ramsey crying or the Son crying?
They both brought me joy in different ways. It's probably the best way to describe it. One filled me with pride and good feelings and longing and admiration, and the other with just Schadenfreude.
I was just about to say that's the perfect word for that. Perfect word for that. And finally, from Grant Wilborn, I usually end up with a silly one, but this is actually a serious one. With Welbs confirmed to be leading, are you worried that we need attacking reinforcements after already spending 110 million euros on strikers?
Yeah.
Andy?
Yeah, I am. I don't think
okay.
Nketiah is what? Hello?
Yeah, I mean, no, no, you're here.
No,
Nketiah being the next man up is nothing.
I don't think he's ready. I think John had said before and earlier in the pod that he needs to go out on loan. You look at, Reece Nelson, ML Smith Rowe being attacking players, they're not ready. So I really wish we would have signed Welbeck. I think he would have signed a deal with less money, with more incentive to play. But medically, he's just not there. He had enough time to impress. I think he played 14 games under Unai, so that's a lot of training and matches. And so clearly something's up with that. But yeah, we need more reinforcement up front.
John, I think it's clear that we can't just go into the season with two, although great strike partnership, one of the world's best, as you discussed yesterday. If that's your plan and that's all you got going into the season, we're fucked.
Yeah, I mean, they're still going to get you a ton of goals. I don't doubt that. But you've got to have something else. You've got to have an attack from out wide. You've got to have pace to run in behind. You've got to have options off the bench. Like, I think Iwobi's a great player in those forward areas. But for me, he's a squad player. He's someone you can bring on. And in certain games, he's fit for it. Mkhitaryan is someone who I would, if we can sell, I would, because that's a lot of wages that we can invest. The amount of money he's on, you could maybe invest that in 2 players.
Yeah, he's on 2.
Yeah, so there's definitely room for improvement in those areas. We have not had a quick player essentially since Walcott. And the last real direct player we had was Alexis Sanchez.
I was just about to mention that guy's name, and no, I don't want him back.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't want him, but I mean, I think he's done as a player. I think, he's played so much football from a young age. He's a bit like Rooney in that sense that he's just caught up to him quicker than other players.
Have you seen Wayne Rooney play lately?
I'm not going to say anything disparaging about the MLS, so let's move on.
Wayne Rooney's got a little left in the tank, let's just say that. James says we should sign Jefferson Lerma, who trolled Son. Jefferson Lerma has already scored an amazing goal for Arsenal this season, so I wouldn't actually discourage that kind of signing too much. But that's it, man. We've run long again today, but we only run long when it's enjoyable AF. So just wanted to thank you, John, for joining us. You doing anything other than Embark Camp Wonderland soon, or anything you want to promote, or your Twitter address or handle?
No, just if you guys want to listen, we do at the AFC podcast. We go live after every single game, 5 minutes after the show. So it's normally me, a crazy Welsh bloke called Jason, who I'm sure you saw on here last week, and then one other person that we drag in. Sometimes it's just me and Jason. Those ones you have to suffer on a little, but they're good fun. They cheer us up.
We sometimes get invites, and the first question is who is on, and then the second the second question is can you ask us again some other time? No, actually, it's a joy whenever Danny asks us to come on, because it's and I wish we could do it more, but we have butlers, which we're gonna hopefully get on soon. But
no,
I know that most of the people in the chat came here because of your podcast, so to tell them to go and listen to your podcast is a little redundant. But if somehow you're not doing that, please do, because they're among the best in the business.
Yeah, there is a rumor going around that me and Jason and Dom might be starting a Del Piero Wonderland from next season.
Oh my God.
Nothing to do with a certain Welshman going to play there. I would have to hide all my Inter Milan shirts if we do that.
And then you can listen to the one-on-one interview between Aaron Ramsey and Matt.
Yeah.
I think he's been saving up money for the last 2 years to afford Ramsey's fee.
He's nearly got enough for his fee. He's almost there. But no, it's a pleasure being on, guys. Thank you. Sorry it took so long.
Oh, it's our fault. Sorry about that. Andy, anything to add?
No, I love you, Michael, and I can't wait to embrace you in just over 2 months.
Yes, that's going to happen. We will talk about whether we'll pod after the Europa League game on Thursday. Will depend on scheduling, guests, and if we lose, don't expect to see us podcasting. Yeah. So again, final thoughts have just been said. Subscribe on YouTube. We'd love to push up the subscribers. We're a little bit late to the game on YouTube in our 3rd season, but you can use a link that will appear here shortly to do that. Please give us a thumbs up in the chat. We always forget to talk about Tappy during the chat, but if you can do that, that'll help us. If you're listening on iTunes or somewhere else, Stitcher, Spotify, you can watch us if you're free during the day or whenever we podcast. We'd love to have you join us in the chat. Today's chat was fantastic. Thank you to all of you who joined us, took time out of your day, came from both the US, UK, Belgium, Switzerland. We're an international podcast. We got that love and affection for our fellow man, and that's what we're all about. We are #1 podcast in the Beak, and we have been for a long time. So in any case, Ryan Cost finishes off with Go Avs Go. I'll co-sign that. Good luck to the
we got this tonight, Ryan. We've got this.
Colorado Cronkies in ice hockey tonight, and that's it for us. Come on, you Gooners.